You're watching the proper video if you've ever wondered how much Tesla stock you'll need to retire and begin living the good life. That's exactly what we'll be talking about today. Please continue to watch and remember to subscribe to our channel and give a like. Now, let's begin this video. To retire by 2030, how many Teslas do you need? Let's find out. Complete halt. If driving costs $8,000 in 2020 and $10,000 in 2021, then it will. Probably cost $28. It is currently $12,000 in 2024. Based on their apparent confidence in that, it appears that Tesla is raising the price of their FSD by $2,000 a year. This FSD will only be a money monster if it turns out to be the reality that it appears to be. They see it as akin to a bank. They will be extremely wealthy. Thus, we receive $28,000 as a one-time payment by growing by $2,000 per year until 2030. Studies suggest that by 2031, they may attain $64, which is a demonstrated fact. Should that transpire, Tesla will serve as yet another source of wealth for the individual. It is merely software, it is a significant upsell, and they earn handsomely from it. Thus, by 2030, we'll leave it at $62. Sales of the car and FSD make up the whole revenue. As of right now, any car I own that is sold here costs $50,000 due to supply and demand. It's a little bit higher, but to be safe, we'll assume that the average car sold by 2030 will cost $50,000. That will continue to be the case. The car and the FSD make up the net income or overall net income in this case. While the actual percentage is closer to 30%, the cars are listed at 25%. Profit shares will be pre-split at $25 for each vehicle sold. That amounts to $1.5 billion. It's okay this sum will alter in June, July, or October when they announce the stock split. The only information I have is that they will have 1.5 billion outstanding shares by 2030, which is highly improbable given that they have no incentive to dilute so many shares given their high level of profitability. In fact, they need to be paying out dividends or buying back stock, but Tesla has said that it isn't interested in doing either. $1.5 EPS is pre-split and comes after standing shares. PE was kept as realistic as feasible at 40, and EPS will be adjusted when the stock split occurs. I predict that Tesla's price will be less than 40 by 2030 and probably more than 50. In North America, the average monthly expense is more than $5,000. $3,000 each year, which makes sense for a family of two since you're sharing a home with a spouse or significant other. Let's be selfish for a moment and assume that you wish to retire the shares on your own in this video. That is a whole unrelated tale. The typical monthly outlay decreases to just over $3,000. For ease of calculation, let's choose $3,200 or almost $40,000 annually. It's all right. With a monthly expenditure of $3,200 and an average inflation rate of 3% through 2030, we get at $4,020. However, supposing you're not interested in leading a minimal lifestyle, you wish to enjoy yourself. The S&P 500 yields between 8 and 10% yearly, but let's be cautious and estimate 7%. Since the SP has a yearly return of 7%, and you wish to withdraw $5,000 or $850,000 by 2030, you will need to sell your Tesla shares for about $850,000 to shelter. 46 years are predicted by one calculator, 48 by another. We now have our monthly spending budget and the amount we need to live off of it. Knowing that the mid to late 40s is a great time frame to look at for $850,000 with an average return of 7%. After you've interpreted the graphic, you'll see that food and vehicle sales were the only two industries. Not a single energy, Tesla insurance, robo-taxis, Tesla bot, and so on. It is. Only based on the data that we now have, since we need to know how much money robo-taxis, the Tesla bot, and Tesla insurance will bring in. Although we don't yet have a lot of data about solar panels, what we do have is trustworthy and dependable. Therefore, whatever you see on this page is minimum. Going back to the number of Tesla shares required for retirement. In the worst case scenario, Tesla shares would be worth roughly $450 if they sell 20 million cars by 2030. Though I find it hard to imagine that many cars minus 55 million that might be there. No automaker has ever gone to that extent. I'm curious if Tesla can reach that number or not, but if we assume that 30 million is a far more realistic number than 55 million, that works out to around $13,000 per share, giving the company a market valuation of about $20 trillion. Now, because of the outstanding shares, the market cap is extraordinarily high. I predict that the market cap will decrease if that does. However, stock prices are still holding steady. Thus, by 2030, $850,000 is required. The number of shares you need to reach $800,000 by 2030 if you wish to live off of $5,000 a month for the next 50 years is merely 98. For the bear case, 98 shares will only set you back slightly more than $98,000. With your $98,000 investment, you will receive $850,000 in 8 years instead of $98,000. After that, you could turn the SP 500 to potentially yield a return of 7%, and that would be it. You've retired. It's crazy that you need 98 shares, but you do. You won't have to worry about money for 8 years if you make a commitment to save, invest, and not spend money you don't need. Let's look at the default scenario. Instead of 78.6, all you need is 79 shares. Although 78.6 is now unavailable, 79 shares will set you back about $79,000. If they sell 25 million cars over the next 8 years, that's more than 10x, and if they sell 30 million, that's more than 66x. 66 shares might earn $850,000 by 2030 if investors invest. $65,000 to $66,000 today. Say you have already made a commitment. I have this recommendation for you. Don't log in if the market crashes 50% again. We don't know if it will happen in the upcoming year, 2 years, or 3 years, but it will since the American stock market is incredibly resilient and always recovers. Carzan. EFSD are the only things included. As I mentioned before, there is no Tesla insurance, nor is there solar energy storage or RoboCab Tesla. For the time being, it's simply these two things, the number of sold Tesla vehicles and FSD. We don't yet have the real data to incorporate it. And that's it. Because I'm a conservative and want to see the worst case, I'm leaning towards the bear case. I'll feel terrible and think I made a mistake if I rely too much on the best case scenario. You only need 100 shares in the bear situation. Retain it. Remember it. Remain calm. That's at 8, 9, or 10 years. Since Tesla isn't a 1-decade thing, if you don't sell by 2030, that $800,000 will be worth a lot more in 5 years. It will persist for some time. Tesla in 2050. There will be a long future for Tesla. They are among the people who solve problems for a living, and Tesla is too valuable to fail or to allow anybody else to fail. This brings an end to our analysis of the number of shares required to retire with Tesla stock. Please like and subscribe to our channel if you're a fan of Tesla and would want to see more videos. More about Tesla will be covered soon. I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you in the next videos. I'm grateful. You're watching the proper video if you've ever wondered how much Tesla stock you'll need to retire and begin living the good life. That's exactly what we'll be talking about today. Please continue to watch and remember to subscribe to our channel and give a like. Now, let's begin this video. To retire by 2030, how many Teslas do you need? Let's find out. Complete halt. If driving costs $8,000 in 2020 and $10,000 in 2021, then it will. Probably cost $28. It is currently $12,000 in 2024. Based on their apparent confidence in that, it appears that Tesla is raising the price of their FSD by $2,000 a year. This FSD will only be a money monster if it turns out to be the reality that it appears to be. They see it as akin to a bank. They will be extremely wealthy. Thus, we receive $28,000 as a one-time payment by growing by $2,000 per year until 2030. Studies suggest that by 2031, they may attain $64, which is a demonstrated fact. Should that transpire, Tesla will serve as yet another source of wealth for the individual. It is merely software. It is a significant upsell, and they earn handsomely from it. Thus, by 2030, we'll leave it at $62. Sales of the car and FSD make up the whole revenue. As of right now, any car I own